So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the interior of the car and the faults I've experienced since ownership. The purpose of this is to help you guys identify these issues and what the costs are and how to fix them. So I'm going to start off with, if you want to follow me.
No.
I'm going to start off with today with the driver's seat. So, do you want to come in?
Yeah.
So the driver's seat, when I picked up the car, it had way too much play. It was shaking way too much. And it was creaking really badly. No matter if I was driving at 40 or 60 or even 20 miles an hour, it was just creaking like one of those like old rocking chairs. So I took it to my local Audi to get looked at, and they confirmed that there's too much play in the seat base and the seat frame, but unfortunately warranty doesn't cover it. So because of that, they said we can fix it for you, but it's going to cost £920 to fix. But obviously I've only had the car for like a month back then, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to pay that. So I took it to my dealership I got it from, and they said what we can do is fix it for free, which they did. So they had the car for about 2.5 weeks, and they changed the seat base and the seat frame free of charge. But what I'll do now is I'll put like a little clip in here of what it sounded like just driving normally at 40 miles an hour, so you get an idea. So if you guys are experiencing any creaking, don't just let it be, make sure you get it checked out. So that was the first thing really. The second thing I want to talk about is these speaker covers here. So these are very brittle, they're very thin plastic pieces, and you have to get these off to get the door card off. Now what you've got to do is get like a small plastic piece and just like shimmy it in there and then just pry it out. But the problem is, if you do that, you'll crack these speakers. They're very easy to crack. And I think I've cracked mine here. Yeah, you can see a little bit of crack there. Does it pick it up just there?
Yeah,
so
tiny.
Yeah, so a tiny crack. Again, it's not an expensive repair. Basically, these covers are like £20 from Audi themselves, so it's an easy fix. Next thing as well, also that I want to talk about is the center console. Do you wanna? I'll go around that side and you can just stay here. So this centerpiece here, all of this creaks like that. Can you hear that? So it creaks. Again, there's no repair for it really. Both in my S3 and my partner's S3, they both have the same creaking sound as you're driving along if you're resting your leg. I found that if you just like put your leg against like the resting pedal over there, it doesn't creak. But if you get an S3 or an A3 or an RS3 with the extended leather pack, then this bit is covered in leather, and I found that it doesn't creak, so that could be a fix. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is buttons on your dash and your center console that might stick. Now I've got one down here, the menu button, and it sticks. It doesn't feel the same as all the other ones because these are all crisp, but this kind of just sticks in. I've had a look at the previous work done on the car, and the previous owner had it taken to Audi and had it looked at, and what happened is he spilled some drinks on the center console, and that's why it sticks. So if you want that repaired, you have to buy all of this section from Audi. Again, that could be a few £100, but that's the only way to fix it. The guy tried to get it fixed on the warranty, but because he messed it up pretty much himself, the warranty declined it. So again, when you are looking at buying a new car, literally test all the buttons and make sure that everything works properly, because I found that out maybe a week or so into ownership. So that's something as well. Next thing, talking about the dash again, you might find some scrape lines or any scratches or dents on this piece, and maybe on these bits on the door.
Where are you looking?
Just these bits
okay.
Here. Again, that's just normal wear and tear. There are a few ways you can fix these issues. First one being just replace these trims. You can get them from eBay, Amazon, you know, wherever pretty much. Or you can, you know, paint them or wrap them, depending on what you want to do. Again, if you go to Audi, it might be a few £100 to get it replaced, but it's just standard wear and tear on that one. What's next on? What's on the list? You got the rear view mirror. Yes, so this mirror, when I picked up the car, and straight away noticed it, that as I was driving along, it would just vibrate, and it was pretty loose. So you're driving around maybe about 50, 60 miles an hour, and the whole mirror would just vibrate and you couldn't see what was behind you. So I took it to my local Audi again for like, I don't know, the 5th time or whatever now, and all they did was tightened. It's somewhere on here, there's a little thing you can tighten, and they did that for me for free. So if you find out when driving along, Audi should be able to do it for free, no charge. It's literally just a 2-minute fix, so that's not an issue. Again, there came from the glove box at the very back down here. So where it ends, it's plastic, but there's like a metal piece. So if you look at it, the glove box comes down this way, and this bit is plastic, and that bit there is metal, and there's a piece of foam between that. So as you're driving along, the 2 bits vibrate, but obviously the foam cancels out the noise, so you can't hear it. But with this, every time I would set off, there would be like a rattling noise, because 2 pieces would be hitting each other, and it was the worst thing ever. But all it is just get that piece of foam and just readjust it, and move it back into position. It's just a trial and error kind of basis. If you're not happy with it, go to any shop, buy a piece of foam, and just stick it in there, and that should stop it. Anything else?
You got the door panels or
Yeah.
the rear seats.
So the door panels, again, this is one of those things that you have to buy a whole door panel to get it rectified. But if you can hear this, can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that creaking is because over the years, I'm guessing they must have taken the door panel off a few times. But every time because you got to yank it off from the bottom up, you've got to yank the door off, and if you don't do it carefully, then there's some clips that you can break, and that results in this happening. Now the only way to fix that pretty much is to buy a new door card. Again, that could be secondhand from Marketplace, or again Audi themselves. But yeah, you can't really notice it unless you really push against it, but if you've got your hand resting, then it's fine, it's not an issue. But make sure, that's one thing, if you don't like creaking sounds like this or like this, make sure you test the car and see how rigid it is. So that's fine. And now we're going to move on to the back. So if you want to just move along to that side, Megan, I'll get in the back.
Awesome.
Right, so this wasn't the case with my S3, but with my sister's. So when we picked up the car, we noticed that her seatbelt was like it was just hanging like this, just like that. And the reason for that is because the previous owners had a baby seat in the back seat. Now the leather was absolutely fine. Again, I'll post a picture of this so you guys see what it's actually like. But over time, as they're putting the seatbelt on over the child seat, it extends the seatbelt and makes it loose. Now the mechanism itself is fine, it's just the seatbelt itself is just worn. Now before picking the car up, we have spoken to the dealership at Audi, and again, as usual, they gave us a whole speech of, oh, well, we can't do this because of this and this and this, but the bottom line is they don't want to spend the money fixing it. So I asked them how much would it be to get this section replaced, and obviously Audi, they don't just do one piece, they do the whole section, and the guy said it'll be about mid-500 to get this section fixed. Now that's a lot of money. So I did some digging online, and there's a company called AirbagTeam Ltd, and they do aftermarket seatbelts, but they're standard seatbelts, but they do different colors. So they do like red, blue, yellow, silver, whatever you want. And I actually spoke to them, and they said we can get a whole new set, so front and rear, done and fitted to the car for £330, which I think is a great deal. So if you're after new seatbelts, go check them out, they're really great. Airbag Limited, they're proper nice.
Link.
What's sorry?
Put a link in the description.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description as well, no worries. But yeah, so Audi, they said they'll fix it for about £500, you know, give or take a bit. Or you can go to a different company and get a whole set for £330 fitted as well. So if you do find a seatbelt that's like this, don't worry about it, it's about £330 to get it fixed, but that's it. And lastly, I want to take you to the boot, if that's all right. Yeah. So the final thing that I found as well with mine, a common thing with these S3s, and these only happen with the S3s with the 19-inch wheels and the mag ride. What it is a rear knocking sound coming from either side. Now mine has that, and apparently what it is just the previous top mounts were a bit dodgy, but Audi revised this. So when you're driving along and your car has like a knocking sound when you're driving over bumps or what have you, it's probably the top mount. I've taken it to 2 different Audi dealerships, and they said the suspension is fine, but the knocking sound is still there. So after a little digging around, and what I've actually done is taken out the rear seats, the parcel shelf, all of this, the spare tire, and everything was just taken out. Yeah, it was a bad day. So basically all I had was just an empty boot, and the sound was still coming. It was still like reappearing when I was going over bumps. So obviously now they checked the suspension, it's all fine. But what I did, if you come a bit closer, is, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but when I tap on this, you can hear that it's kind of hollow. Now I took this out, and behind this is just literally just a car body and this piece of like fabric or like fiberglass, well, I'm not sure what it is. But I guess the best way to do that, if your suspension is fine, is get a piece of foam again, like at the front, and just slide it in, because there's a bit of gap between this and the body of the car. Just slide it in, and that should stop it. I haven't done it yet, but yeah, so that's what it sounds like. That's an easy fix. Otherwise, go to Audi and get them to look at the suspension. But again, they charge £110 an hour to get that looked at. Again, it's up to you what you want to do. But yeah, so far, with the interior of the car, these are all the things that I found and how I fixed them. I've given you some prices to think about. But yeah, make sure, again, I can't, what's the word?
Express.
I can't express that enough, that you need to really look over the car on the inside. Because some dealerships, like when I was picking mine up, what did the guy say? He was like, oh, he's really looking over it, isn't he? Like, he was just making jokes about it. I'm like, well, yeah. I want it to be okay, perfect, but
ignore them, basically.
yeah, ignore them, and don't be afraid to actually really look over the car and make sure that you're happy with it. But yeah, any questions about anything, guys, about the interior of the car, more than happy to help. Then yeah, that's it. Cheers, guys. Thank you.